Welcome to the Health Headliner podcast by Tudu Digital. Our content is informational only and not medical advice. Please consult your provider. Now, let's dive into today's headlines.
Imagine if chewing gum could actually, help us fight off viruses,
Mhm.
like the flu, even, cold sores.
Like, that'd be incredible.
It sounds kind of sci-fi, doesn't it?
Totally.
But that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. Some really interesting research on antiviral chewing gum.
Yeah, this is exciting stuff. You've brought some really cool articles and research papers. We're going to really break down how this gum is supposed to work.
So we've got a great health news article that gives us a nice overview of this whole thing.
Right, a good place to start.
And then to get into the nitty-gritty, we've got the original scientific paper.
The real deal, all the data.
Exactly. So our mission today is to pull out those key findings from both sources, explain how this gum works, what it could mean for, public health.
Big picture stuff.
Right. And of course, we want to look at any limitations, any questions that still need answers, give everyone a really clear understanding.
A solid deep dive, basically.
Exactly. So antiviral chewing gum.
Wild, right?
Totally. To really appreciate why this is such a big deal, I think we need to take a step back and think about infectious diseases in general.
Right, the broader context.
I mean, we've all seen with recent events, even just the seasonal flu, how these illnesses are a constant threat.
Absolutely. And the paper you shared, it highlights the huge impact of common viruses on our health.
And our wallets.
Oh, yeah. Like, just influenza alone costs the U.S. over $11 billion annually.
11 billion, wow.
That's massive.
Yeah.
And that's just one virus. Think about herpes simplex virus type 1. Super common, right?
Yeah, the article mentioned that over 2/3 of the world's population is infected with it.
It's everywhere. And the paper mentions something pretty serious, though. It's a leading cause of infectious blindness.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, not something to mess with.
And the article touched on the fact that our current defenses against these viruses, they're not foolproof.
Right, vaccines aren't a perfect solution.
Sometimes vaccination rates are low for a whole bunch of reasons.
And there's no vaccine for herpes at all.
Exactly. So the researchers, they were looking for new ways to prevent these infections, especially at their source.
Where they spread from, basically.
Yeah, and for viruses like influenza and herpes, that often means the mouth.
Exactly. The paper really emphasizes that, like oral transmission through saliva, close contact, it's way more efficient for a lot of viruses.
Really?
Yeah, they list a whole bunch. Coronavirus, influenza, human papillomavirus, Epstein-Barr virus.
Wow, so targeting the mouth with an antiviral, it just makes sense.
It's a logical strategy.
Yeah.
So these researchers, they came up with something pretty clever.
Antiviral chewing gum.
That's it.
How'd they even think of that?
Well, this team, they're from the University of Pennsylvania in Finland, and they developed this gum that contains a special protein.
Oh, a protein. What's it called?
It's called FRIL. FRIL.
FRIL, okay. And where does it come from?
It's found naturally in Lablab beans.
Lablab beans. Interesting.
Yeah, Lablab purpureus, the article said. And this isn't their first rodeo with antiviral gum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the health news article mentions they've been working on a similar gum for COVID-19.
Oh, wow.
And that one's actually in clinical trials.
So this new research is building on that success.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this FRIL protein. What makes it antiviral?
Well, FRIL, it's pretty cool. It's what we call a broad-spectrum antiviral, meaning it can work against a range of viruses.
So not just one specific virus.
Right. And the paper explains how it works. Basically, FRIL binds to these sugar molecules on the surface of viruses.
Sugar molecules.
Yeah, they're called complex type N-glycans. And a lot of viruses, like influenza and herpes, they have these N-glycans all over their surface.
So FRIL is attracted to these sugar molecules?
Yep, it binds to them, and that's how it traps the virus.
It's like it sticks to them.
Exactly. And once it binds, it basically prevents the virus from entering our cells.
So it's like a shield stopping the infection right at the start.
Yep, pretty neat, huh?
It is. Now, putting this FRIL protein into chewing gum, that seems like a clever way to get it to the mouth.
Right where it's needed.
But how do they make sure the protein actually gets released when you chew?
Well, they formulated the gum specifically for that. They wanted a consistent, effective release of FRIL in the mouth.
So it's not just regular gum with some protein thrown in.
Nope, this is carefully designed. The article mentions it's a clinical-grade drug product meeting FDA specifications.
Oh, wow. So it's held to high standards.
Absolutely. And they also address some safety concerns.
That's important. What were they?
Well, some beans have these compounds, vicine and convincine. That can be harmful to some people.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
But they tested the Lablab bean powder and the gum, and they found no detectable levels of those compounds.
So it's safe in that regard.
Yes, they made sure of that.
Okay, so the gum itself seems well designed, but did it actually work? Let's get into the study's findings.
Right, into the data. First, they looked at the stability of FRIL, both in the bean powder and in the gum.
Stability meaning does it break down easily?
Exactly. And it turns out FRIL is pretty stable. In the powder, it lasted at least 683 days in a freezer.
Wow, that's a long time.
And in the gum itself, it was stable for at least 790 days at room temperature.
So it has a good shelf life. That's
Mm.
important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Then they tested how FRIL is released when you chew.
How do they do that?
They used a mastication simulator, basically a machine that mimics chewing.
A chewing machine, that's cool.
Yeah, and they found that over 50% of FRIL was released within 15 minutes of chewing.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, and 95% was released after an hour.
So most of the FRIL gets into your saliva where it needs to be?
Exactly. Next, they wanted to see if the gum could actually trap and neutralize viruses.
The big test.
Right. So they used a couple of different methods. First, they used something called an ELISA assay to see if the gum extract could make herpes simplex viruses clump together.
Clump together.
Yeah, basically form these big groups. And it worked. They found the gum extract was really effective at trapping both herpes simplex virus type 1 and type 2.
So the viruses were getting stuck together, but did that actually stop them from infecting cells?
That's the key question. So they used a plaque reduction assay, which measures how well a virus can infect cells. And the results were really promising.
Tell me more.
They tested it against a few different viruses. For influenza A, they tested both the H1N1 and H3N2 strains, and the gum extract reduced infectivity by over 95%.
95%, that's huge.
Yeah, really effective. And for the herpes viruses, they got similar results.
So it works against both influenza and herpes.
That's what the data suggests. And they also wanted to confirm that FRIL was the real hero here.
Meaning it was the active ingredient doing the work.
Right, so they tested purified FRIL protein on its own, and it showed similar antiviral activity.
So FRIL is definitely the key player.
No doubt about it.
And they did those safety tests too, right?
Oh yeah, for bacteria, yeasts, molds, they wanted to make sure the gum itself was safe.
Important step.
Absolutely. And it passed all the tests. No harmful levels of anything.
So it's safe, it releases FRIL effectively, and it neutralizes viruses in the lab.
Those are the key takeaways.
Pretty amazing. So what could this mean for the real world?
The implications are huge, potentially. If these findings hold up in humans, this gum could be a game changer.
Think about it. A simple way to reduce flu transmission.
Or herpes.
Yeah, it could address those gaps we have with vaccines.
And the fact that it works against multiple strains of influenza and both types of herpes, that's huge.
Yeah, it's like a broad spectrum defense.
And it's just chewing gum. So easy to use, easy to distribute.
Way easier than remembering to take pills or getting a shot.
Exactly. This could really make a difference, especially during outbreaks.
Yeah, it could help control the spread of those viruses. And the article mentioned they're even looking at using it for bird flu.
Yeah, that's an interesting application. They're exploring adding Lablab bean powder to bird feed to see if it can help control avian influenza.
So potentially protecting both human and animal health.
Exactly.
Now, it all sounds amazing, but we have to be realistic. There are limitations to this research.
Right. We can't get ahead of ourselves.
This was all done in a lab, not in real people.
Yeah, these are in vitro studies. Promising. But we need to see how it works in humans.
Human clinical trials are the next step.
And even then, there are questions about dosage, how long you need to chew the gum, how often.
Yeah, those are practical considerations. And will people actually use it consistently?
That's a big one. And we still need to understand how well it reduces asymptomatic shedding, especially for herpes.
Yeah, that's important for preventing transmission. And they only tested it against certain strains of influenza and herpes.
Right, we need to see how it works against other strains.
So, lots more research to be done. What did the researchers say about their findings and next steps?
Well, Henry Daniel, the lead researcher, he's pretty optimistic.
What did he say?
He emphasized the potential of this gum to minimize infection and transmission.
Sounds like he's confident.
Yeah, and he compared it to their COVID-19 gum, saying they achieved similar levels of viral load reduction.
Oh, so that's encouraging.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And he highlighted the innovation of using a natural protein to fight both human and bird flu.
He sees this as a big step forward.
Absolutely. And the researchers themselves They pointed out that the viral load reduction was similar to what they saw with their COVID-19 gum, which is already in clinical trials.
So they're drawing a parallel there.
Yeah, and they went through all the trouble of preparing the gum as a clinical-grade drug product.
That shows they're serious about moving towards human trials.
Definitely a good sign.
This research is really fascinating. It gives us a glimpse into a future where everyday things could help us fight diseases.
It's a cool concept, isn't it?
What stands out to you the most?
Honestly, it's the simplicity. Chewing gum, something we all know, could be a weapon against viruses.
It's so accessible, and it could be especially useful in places where vaccines aren't available or effective.
Yeah, a real game changer.
It makes you wonder what other innovations are out there, what other ways we can use everyday items to improve health.
Right, like, what if we could make hand soap that also kills viruses?
Or mouthwash that prevents colds.
The possibilities are endless.
And as these researchers move towards human trials, it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Definitely. Now, think about the last time you had the flu or a cold sore.
Ugh, I hate cold sores.
Yeah, they're the worst. Could something like this have made a difference for you?
It's definitely something to think about.
Food for thought.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to the Health Headliner podcast by To Digital. Like and subscribe for more health news and breakthroughs. Stay healthy and informed. See you next time.